Hey there, fans, folks, families, and friends. Welcome to tonight's episode. It is episode 5, and I thank you so much for finding us through Curling Alberta's social media platforms, whether it be Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. You found us here through Curling Alberta's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Asmussen, and I welcome you to the home end. I'm here in my home in Edmonton, Alberta, and my goodness, I've got my fireplace going. My dog is curled up in front of those flames because we have hit a wild dump of snow. And I know this crazy weather, which is not really so crazy, but is moving its way through the province and surprising a lot of our folks at home. So I hope you're cozy on your couch or wherever you may be. I hope you are safe if you are mid travels. Hopefully you are not texting and driving, or should I say watching and driving. I like the views. We love the views, but we want you to be safe right now with our current weather conditions. And we have been extremely blessed, not only up until this point with our weather, but also with the amount of curling that has been on across, our province, and we'll talk about that, but also across our nation and actually internationally. So before we get going, let's acknowledge our land, let's acknowledge our peoples before us. So let's take a moment and opportunity to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on this virtual platform, which has extended across our nation, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are and can each, in our own way, try to move forward in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Fans and viewers at home, or if you're listening in as a recorded version, this week has been wild, and hopefully your hearts have slowly gone back to resting state after last night's Scotties final. It was incredible, a tearjerker, a real invigorating and inspiring performance by both Team Homan and Team Jones. And most noteworthy, the city of Calgary and its ability to come together and put on an incredible show for all of us here in our province, for all of us at homes, for all the people joining live, and for everybody across our nation. Now, we've got a few things to touch up on before I welcome our special guest, which all 12 live viewers are probably ready to listen into. We'll get there in a hot second. But we have a lot of things that have happened over the weekend or over the last week since we last had our episode, which featured some amazing young athletes. So this lovely section of Home and Beyond, we've had some incredible things going on. First of all, a huge digital round of applause to Team Sturmey and their 4th place finish at the Scotties. I had the opportunity this weekend to go down and watch them live in their 3-4 game, and although it was not the result and the performance that I'm sure they were expecting or they wanted, their week was absolutely brilliant, and you, the viewers, and their supporters truly made that happen. So we really commend them. We know that the game is going to change for them. The world of curling is going to change for them after that. And we love to see our grassroots curlers, our hometown curlers, really excel and find their breakthrough moment. And though many of them have incredible pedigrees on that team, this really will be another great moment that will shoot them into a new trajectory of curling. And we love to see that. The 50-50 is a great opportunity, whether it be at our provincials or if Alberta has a national event, for the money of the pot to go back into grassroots curling and community curling. And the 50-50 over the Scotties raised over $130,000. That's going to go back into Alberta communities, back into clubs, back into upgrading, revitalizing curling right at the home level. And so we cannot thank you enough for your contributions. Also, congratulations to all of the winners. Those are massive pots to win. Those got to feel good. But also knowing that on the other side of that 50-50, that money is going to go to a really great cause and to supporting curling in our communities moving forward. So well done. well done, Alberta. You did a great job, and well done, Canada, for being able to come together and to really show how invested you are, not only in heart, but also with a little bit more to give to some of our communities. So brilliant. We also had two Alberta teams represent Canada at the world level. We had Team Tao, or Team Tau, and Team Plet, who were over in Finland competing on behalf of their own clubs, the province, and the nation at the World Championship. And we remind ourselves that Team Plet had to go through the relegation aspect and then win their way back into that World Championship. And through all of their turmoil and toils, they were able to pull off a fourth place finish, which is phenomenal. And we also thank Team Tau for their wonderful performance. They finished the round robin record just below a winning average. They went 4 wins and 5 losses. I had an opportunity to connect with Johnson via social media while he was at the event. And I know that they took a lot from this event. They're a really great young team. They were at the Alberta Boston Pizza Cup just a few weeks back, which helped them prepare for that event moving forward. And they're incredible athletes, and I know that they're going to be able to have and find more successes moving forward. So congratulations to both of those teams. But without further ado, we are going to welcome in our wonderful guest. I'm going to bring him in before I go off and spew a whole bunch of random facts that I had to Wikipedia, because I thought I knew a lot about this person, but then I realized I actually only know like one thing. So I had to go in and dig a little bit deeper. But friends, families, viewers, I'm going to add to the stage Brendan Bottcher. Hi, Brendan. How's it going?
Hello, it's going good. How are you?
Well, I'm doing lovely, and I know we had an opportunity to chat just before I entered you into our online home here. But I think I'm going to do my best here, and I'm going to try to spew off a whole bunch of facts and a whole bunch of information for our viewers at home, so that you don't have to, and also then you can correct me or add in if at any moment I got something wrong. So, Brendan Bottcher, not only are you competing in the 2024 Brier here, the Montana's Brier in Regina this week, this Friday, which I believe will be your eighth or ninth appearance. I'm thinking it's ninth appearance at the Brier, but that's a lot of numbers to
I
add.
believe number 8, but
Number 8. Okay, eight's good. Ninth better, but eight's good. You have also won the 2010 Junior Provincial Championships here in Alberta, the 2012 Junior Provincial Championships, Canadian Championships, and World Championship, the 2000 something University Championships, and you went to the Universiade and you got bronze there. Your 8 Brier appearances, you have been every year since 2017, which is something, a little asterisk up on the side of that. 5 Grand Slam championships. Yep, yep. And you've competed at the last couple of trials, the Olympic trials. How did I do?
you did great. Yeah, you did
Thank
great.
you. You know what? Wikipedia is marvelous. AI is marvelous, but also I truly can't keep track of it all, because you've had just an incredible, not only an incredible season, but also an incredible, let's call it 10 years or more, really. Actually, probably closer to 15 years. You've been all over the map, and I don't know how you do it. How do you do it?
I sleep sparingly. I've got a real good support structure is the answer. So I've got an awesome work situation with Spartan Controls. I've got an awesome family situation. Everyone's been accommodating to me along the way and allowed me to chase my dreams, which is just fantastic.
Well, you know what, Brendan? Like we've been hearing that word a lot over the last, or that phrase over the last week, really. But it's not something new to us as athletes and new to us in the curling world, is chasing our dreams, because we know that the sport of curling, in many ways, is changing at the home level, changing at our community level. But we also know that it has never been as intense, though it is a vibrant sport, as some of our professional sports. So really, it is like chasing a dream, truthfully, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Not to diminish any other professional sports by any means, but there's lots of them where that's your job for a handful of years, and you don't have some of the other distractions that a lot of curlers live day in day out. And then also the curling lifespan is a long experience. So it's not like
Right.
you're playing in your early 20s and then you're retiring at 28 to go live a happy and fulfilling life and start a family. You see lots of curlers that are doing that while they're curling and curling into their 30s and 40s and sometimes 50s quite competitively. So
Right.
I think curling's just a little bit unique. That's what makes it pretty special, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Now, this weekend, we just saw 49-year-old Jennifer Jones, incredible athlete, incredible mentor, incredible competitor, close out her, not, I guess not her curling career, but definitely her Scotties career. Um, what do you think about that? Not only just Jennifer Jones retiring, but just being able to compete at that level, like you said, for that many years. It's pretty incredible.
It's just phenomenal, and I think through a lot of the teams she's revolutionized the sport multiple times throughout her career. She's kept moving the bar, and having teams come and chase her. And I think it's really a testament that she was able to pick up some young girls, really be a role model, a coach, and still an elite skip, and get them to two consecutive Scotties finals, kind of right at the tail end of her women's career here is awesome. I mean, Jennifer was someone I was watching right as I was starting to curl, so I think it's pretty cool how long she's been elite, and I just
Yeah.
wish her all the best. I don't think she's done with curling by any stretch.
And you said that she's somebody that you've watched and her incredible mentorship. And I think a lot of people in our province would also say that about you and about the way that you've been able to take the last 15 years of your work in curling, and however you started and however you've maneuvered through your processes, you've been able to inspire a lot of young people, young athletes, whether they're just at the start of their curling journey or whether they've been in the midst of it and through the thick and thin of it all so far, you've really shown them a pathway. How do you feel about thinking about that here in this province? Like you as almost an icon or an idol or a mentor model for the sport.
Well, it's special for sure. If I think back to when I was just starting curling as a junior, the amount of people that took a little bit of time out of their day to make my experience awesome and to help inspire me to want to keep pushing and kind of show me the road of, this is possible. It's possible to do in
Yeah.
Edmonton. It's possible to do in Canada. That's pretty neat. And if somewhere along the way I have the opportunity to give that back to folks,
Yeah.
I'm certainly going to take the time to do that. I think it's awesome. And really, the culture of curling we have here in Alberta is commendable. I think we've been producing champions for decades now, and I certainly think we will well into the future.
Brendan, you kind of mentioned a little bit about this idea that um, curling itself is something that can be rooted through the longevity of your life. And at the start of our show, I kind of alluded to the fact that we've been having tons of conversation about how curling has and is changing in our homes and in our communities. We're looking at accessibility, equality. We're looking at inclusion and diversity in different ways in the sport to draw people's attention or to bring curling back as a conversation into the home. And I'm really curious. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I've played alongside you, but I really don't know the Brendan that got going and got started. So fill us in. How did you get that humble start? What is your humble start to the sport?
Well, I have a little bit different story than a lot of folks. So most people that get into competitive curling, I'll say, come from a curling household.
Right.
Simply because you need to start young, like in a lot of other sports. And curling's just niche enough that not a lot of people get into niche sports at 8 or 9 or 10 years old. So I came from a family. I think in my extended family there were some curlers, but certainly no one that I ever watched, no one that was competitive. No one in my immediate family curled, including my parents. I watched the '98 Olympics on TV, and I got inspired by that. And maybe that's really a testament to what the Olympics brings to sport.
Right.
Um, but that was cool for me. That was a neat experience. I remember asking my parents, this is kind of neat, something I'd like to try. Sure
Mhm.
enough, it's something we can do close to home. Um, Certainly helped at the time. Team Canada was doing quite well, whether it was at the Olympics or World Championships. So it was kind of an easy story to root for. I grew up in Sherwood Park, and when I was starting curling, Randy Furby and Dave Nettowin were on a tear.
Yeah.
Not only best in the province, best in the world. Um, and they were that way for a handful of years. And as soon as they were done, well, Kevin was from Edmonton, right in my backyard. So, kind of that accessibility to a lot of the top athletes, the realization that we have all the resources here. We don't have to fly around the country or the world to go chase this dream. We have the coaches, we have the resources. If you want to get good at it, Alberta's as good of a place as any other on the planet.
And what you just said it so perfectly, like it just picture perfect finish, signed, sealed, and delivered. Our sport really is an incredible one at that. But when you have it in your backyard and all the resources are there to show you that it's here and living and well, it's that really great leap of faith into knowing that you have the opportunity to do something really cool. And you've done a ton of cool things in your curling career. And I mean, I don't want to boast or brag, but you said you've played with the top athletes in your life, and I see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there, 6 top athletes. And I forgot to mention, I guess I should have started off with happy, what is it, 12-year anniversary. I think on this day or somewhere in this week, we were all together and we were traveling to Sweden for our world championship. And I like to think selfishly that this was a very big breakthrough moment for you in your career, but you've had a lot of really great stops in your career that have you met some incredible people? It's been maybe not, I wouldn't say life changing, but sure game changing. Do you ever think about this?
So
I
yes,
do.
I do think about this all the time. This was on top of being really cool and something we strived towards for a bunch of years in juniors, just the best experience. It really did open a lot of doors for me as an
Yeah.
athlete. And I think maybe more so than anything, it gave me that competitive drive that, for my age at the time, I was good, however you define that. So if
Yeah.
I just kept putting the work in and kept trying to be as good as my peers, at least that were my age, that I might have a chance to make it, or whatever that looks like, and not without a lot of sacrifice along the way. But I was able to realize that to some extent so far, and it's just been great. I, I, it still boggles me that was 12 years ago.
I know. And that we have to
um,
have this anniversary digitally because you're always across the globe or across the nation doing something or other. We never have a chance to meet up. But yeah, it's 12 years. That's crazy, hey?
it is. It is. It feels like 6 months ago, in all honesty.
Sure. You know, as you were talking, Brendan, I think back to last week's episode when I was chatting with Abby and Emma and Peter and Jackson, and you mentioned that you had this moment where you knew that you were good, and you knew that if you committed to keeping up with your peers, that something great was going to happen. And last week, in talking to those 4 really excellent young U18 championship skips, they came up with a lot of ideas as to how they could be supported and how curling could be lifelong for them. But you brought in another aspect, and that's what do you do when you know you're good, right? What do you think for those young viewers out there? What do you do when you know you're good?
Well, I think you have to surround yourself with other people that have similar mindset, similar drive. Um, I'll reiterate again, Alberta's as good of a place as anywhere on the planet to become great at curling. We have
Right.
all the coaching here, thanks in large part to Curling Alberta, Curling Canada. There's lots of resource here for us. So you need to surround yourself with like-minded, similarly aged kids. You need to hopefully surround yourself with some of the good coaches in our province, which more and more so are getting tied to varsity sports, which is awesome for a lot of reasons.
Right.
I think we round out really good humans on top of being good athletes by having that experience. And it helps bridge that gap from what can seem insurmountable from juniors into men's or women's. I think that was really integral for me personally, was that 4 or 5 years where I got to be a golden bear, and still be competitive at something, even though I was kind of in that gap, trying to get there. It's hard, but I think to have the perspective that as long as you're still competitive against people that are roughly the same age as you, you're on the right journey. And it might take a decade, it might take a decade and a half before that materializes into championships. But that's kind of the metric you got to judge yourself, because we have a lot of long athletes in this sport. And you mentioned Jennifer. I can't imagine being a 18-year-old junior female curler transitioning into women's curling, trying to decide how she can compete against Jennifer, who's been winning Scotty since before said junior might have been alive.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. You know, this script is writing itself, because as I hear you talk, I just look at my notes and I go, wow, this is just, we're on the same wavelength. And Brendan, you talked about coaching, you talked about resources, not only in our province through Curling Alberta and Curling Canada, but also through varsity or even at the club level. And you've had an opportunity to work with a ton of experienced mentors and coaches in the sport. And just to name a few, there's been Rob Krebs, Don Bartlett, Kevin Martin, and I know I'm going to miss a whole bunch, but most recently and currently, you're working alongside Paul Webster. As an access to information, not only just being a good person himself, but to benefit not only you as an athlete, but Team Bottcher into this next week and throughout the rest of the season. What does Paul mean for your team? Or what about those two?
Apparently I have friends. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Good work.
Yeah.
See, I was worried it was going to be the kids that were going to open that door. And it turns out it was the adults.
I think that's synonymous. Yeah, I think that is just children in itself.
But to answer your question, I've been just so incredibly fortunate to have been surrounded by those coaches amongst a list of a whole pile of coaches and mentors throughout my curling career. I'm a big proponent that everyone has their angle and everyone has their little bit that they can give to round out that team, or that puzzle piece that they can slot in there to add a bunch of value, but bring everyone together. And I think you've got to start with your team and have a real honest assessment of what you need before you can figure out who that person is. So you mentioned a lot of incredible names, and they were all incredible for me at various points in my journey. And I think they really helped bridge that gap on some teams where maybe it was tactical on my team at that moment that we needed. Right. Maybe it was technical. Maybe it was that been there, done that experience factor that you just can't put your finger on. So I've just been incredibly fortunate to work with all those people. Paul now is just an integral part of our team. I think calling him a coach is diminishing the role. I really feel like we're a 5-man team with him being an integral part of that.
Wow. You know, Brendan, you mentioned something in just this last part here about an honest assessment about what you're trying to get out of it, not only as an individual, but as a team. And you talked previously about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And I think what makes you such a one part that makes you a substantial person in curling is that stance and that ability to take ownership over not only your choices in curling, but also how you're moving forward in it. And you've had a ton of different renditions of teams, and you've played alongside some of Alberta's best, some of Canada's best. And you found your way through some of those renditions, those different foursomes or fivesomes to this team now. So how did you kind of make your way to this? obviously without giving too much juice, but what does it mean to get to this team right now for where you're at in curling?
Oh, I'll say it again. I'm very grateful to be on the team I'm on now. I think I've played with some incredible athletes along my journey, and what's tough with curling is because it's such a long journey.
Mhm.
There's people that come in and out of that. Um,
Right.
for a variety of reasons. They're at different points in their curling career. They're at different points in their life uh, fulfillment journey. They're at different points
Yeah.
in their work or career professional endeavors. So you get people in and out of that equation. I've tried to surround myself with great people because I am a strong proponent of if you start with good people, you can teach them to curl.
Right. Yeah.
um,
Fair.
so that's been a part of the journey. I just think now I'm fortunate because I've got a team, and I'll say again, a team of 5 guys who are willing to put absolutely everything in, leave no stone unturned. They've got the been there, done that factor, but they also
Right.
have the gritty. I'm going to get down to business and work to be amazing today. And
Sure.
that's so rare in athletes. It's so easy to get complacent the older you get and to lose that drive to want to win again, especially as the sport's getting more competitive every year. You
Right.
know, how Mark and Ben won with Kevin a decade ago is not good enough today. And I think
Right.
just the realization that that's the case is commendable that they have. And I'm just, yeah, I'm so happy to be on this journey with them. I think we're doing a lot of the right things. And most importantly, we're having a pile of fun doing it.
Well, and that's the most important part. It's nice to hear you say that because, for some of our viewers at home or for some of our young listeners, or the person who maybe hasn't dabbled deep enough into the sport to get a little glimpse or a little taste of what that world or what that realm is like, it's not too far away from regular competition, but it is that extension, it is that progression. And so to be able to hear that our athletes are still having fun, and I mean, not just patch fun, we know what patch fun is, but to actually enjoy the sport itself, that's what we want from you and from everybody out there, right? Is to know that they're having fun. Brendan, there's one thing that I wanted to check in with you on because we miss you here in the province, and your curling takes you all over the place. And it used to be for a long time that we would run into one another off and on. But with the way that the season is and the way that you construct your seasons and elite teams, I say elite teams loosely because your teams and great competitive teams. But some of our teams are kind of having to form their schedule around different cycles and preparing for different events. Sometimes we don't get to see you as often as we'd like to here in the province. And so, how does that, when you think on your curling career and you think about location and playing and being back in communities, how does it make you feel to know that where you are at now, sometimes can be a little distant from home?
Well, it's certainly tough in the sense that I get fewer minutes with friends and family and really good acquaintances and people that I love running into in
Yeah.
whatever curling club I'm at. Um, the reality of the sport is it's just gotten so competitive that you have to continually be chasing the top teams if you want to be in that group. So wherever everyone's going that weekend is where you end up.
Right.
But I have a lot of good memories. So many small towns in Alberta that I've stopped in at along my journey, and certainly a lot of awesome curlers in Alberta that I used to play against a pile that now maybe I see in passing once or twice a season.
Right. Well, I know too as well your endeavors with work and with your commitments to some of your supporters and sponsors still bring you back to small clubs and to our local rural communities too as well, which is always nice to see when you're back out and within our communities. Now, Brendan, the Brier is coming up in just, I don't know, 5 short days here. And yeah, no biggie, right? But it's only your eighth one, if we are getting the math correct on it all. And, we think about I think about big box media and its ability to kind of look at the narrative and change the narrative, or at least latch on to a narrative. And this past week, it seemed like there was a ton of drama that happened or that went across the Scotties. And I just want to know and fill our viewers in a little bit. What do the next 4 or 5 days look like prior to stepping on the ice and actually throwing in a game here at the Brier?
Well, we talked before we hopped on. I've been down in Calgary for closing in on a week already. And I'm going to continue to be down here with the guys until we go, simply putting in the hours of practice and kind of tightening the last few screws and getting feeling good and confident and doing all that hard work together, I think is important. And otherwise, leading in, there will be a couple of a little bit lighter days, just so we make sure we take care of ourselves and our bodies and we're not starting the week drained. We'll be traveling, I believe, on Wednesday. For us, that's a bit of a mix of flights and drives, depending on preferences.
Sure.
And then we'll get down there. We'll probably have a light day of practice in Regina, followed by pre-competition practice on Friday morning. And then we actually don't start till Saturday. So for us, it'll be, there's been lots of hard work in the last week. We're going to continue the hard work, but increase the intensity maybe a little bit, but decrease the number of reps, just so we're making sure we're taking care of ourselves. And beyond that, just trying to feel as good as we can, because in a 1 week event, a lot of it comes down to that intangible, the team that has that look in their eye feeling that
it's
you
like a
can't
gusto
really put your finger
right?
on.
Yeah. You know what, Brendan, I just want to let you know that I had Team Sturmey on here after their win and prior to going to Scotties. And I mean, they were just so successful. And I think a lot of it has to do with being on this show, the home end. So if you are successful, which I guarantee you probably will be, then it's probably most and likely due to being here with me this evening. But if you're not, then it has to be one of those intangible things that you were talking about. Now, you said, Brendan, that of course taking care of your body and taking care of yourselves will be a priority in these next couple of days. And I kind of had a look at the draw so that I could see where you start, where your beginning is at the Brier. And our viewers at home will learn that they're not going to see you at the opening draw. They're going to see you on the second day of competition. Is that something that is a little bit ambiguous for you? Does it matter? Do you like playing in that opening draw? Have you done it before in your Briers? Does it even matter?
6 of one, half dozen of the other. I think
Sure.
you get your schedule and then you fall in love with it regardless. I think
Right.
that's an important part of the process. So it's nice to play the opening draw because you get familiar with the venue. You get some of those jitters out because you're simply starting. So
Yeah.
a lot of the anxiety is just building up until you start. And then when you start, you're just curling.
Right.
So waiting that extra day. But on the flip side of it, we'll go to that first draw and we'll experience what that feels like. And we'll get to watch the ice and we'll get to watch the rocks and we'll get to feel comfortable in the venue. And there's lots of power behind all of that too. So I think it's hit or miss. I don't really have a preference one way or the other. I think last year we played that opening draw, and this year we get to start on draw 2.
A little bit of variety then, which is always nice. Brendan, you also have two other Alberta-esque teams joining you at this Brier. You have the likelies of Team Cooey, who has got there through, I guess, what we would call like a wild card spot or a point spot. And then we have our provincial champions in Aaron Slachinsky, who will also join you. And just so that our viewers and for whoever wants to come in, this is what it's going to look like for all of us at the Brier. And we'll see that Brendan is over there. Team Bottcher is over there in Pool A as the lone Alberta team in Pool A, while Cooey and Slachinsky are over in Pool B. So, I mean, I know that the way that our teams are getting to the Brier is different, but when we think about curling here in Alberta and having those three teams at the Brier, what does that do for our sport here, and what does that do for our provincial championships and processes moving forward, do you think?
Well, first off, I think we should be quite proud that we're
Yeah.
getting multiple teams to our national championships. That's good. It's a testament to a lot of the hard work that Curling Alberta puts in, but it's also more data points of elite curlers across the province that are having local community impacts with the people in their clubs,
Yeah.
paving that path as we talked about earlier. I think that's really important. And all in all, for the sport, I think the current format is great. I think it's a really good balance of the more traditional provincial affiliation piece, and complements the reality that to win today at a world stage is
Yeah.
incredibly taxing. And if we can make the road somewhat easier for some teams that have the potential to get to that world stage,
Right.
that there's probably some advantages there too. So I think it's a good balance. I certainly don't have any inside track if they're planning on changing it, but my preference would be if it stayed the same now for a little while.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be great here this next week that there's 3 teams wearing the blue and gold.
And I think our viewers at home are super excited to see that. And I know that I believe Kui and Sluchinski are playing each other like right off the hop. So they're going to get a little rematch of the final from our Boston Pizza Cup just a few weeks ago. Now, Brendan, we're at that 40-minute mark or close to, and I promised you it wouldn't be more than 40 minutes so you could live, laugh, and love and do whatever you need to do to get ready for your long week at the Brier, which we know our viewers at home are going to support you and back you, and of course, people across Canada too as well. So, will you entertain me and our viewers by playing my nice little game called Goes and Woes? You'll be okay with that?
Without knowing what this entails, yes, I will trust you.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't get to know, of course, right? That's the whole point of it. Is you don't get to know. Okay, so here's how it goes. All right, you said a bunch of amazing things. Our viewers at home are taking it to heart. I know that the people looking back on it and this conversation this evening, they're really going to have some opportunities to reflect for those people who are going to come in from the recorded version. They're going to pause, rewind so many times because you've said so many incredible and valuable things. But now is the opportunity to not say anything that is incredibly valuable, or it should be permissible, but maybe it won't permeate through the world, as what you said in the last 40 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3. They're not really arbitrary, but they're just random concepts, ideas. Sometimes they're about curling, sometimes they're not. And you got to give me your go. You like it, it's good, or your whoa. And I would prefer if you elaborate a little bit, but if you don't want to, that's fine, because like maybe there's some kind of stipulation that if you say anything, we just want to see you curling at the Brier. So don't put yourself in a position where you're not going to be. Okay.
Fair
So here's
enough.
the first
Yes.
one. Okay. Brendan's goes or woes. Here we go. It's time. The first one, sports betting. Go or woe?
Oh, absolute go. It's great for sport. It drives a different demographic into curling, which I think is awesome. It's pumped already a fair bit of money into curling, which benefits all the athletes. It benefits the fan experience. I think it's just the reality of where our world is going, and
Totally.
I think I'm all for it.
All we need to say, though, and to make sure that you're playing in the Brier this week, is that please, if you are going to bet, please play responsibly, right? That's what we're supposed to say.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should have been from you. Do you want to say that? Just
Well,
so
I
that you
think it's a
got it?
know your limit, stay within it. Please bet. There's an official stance, but
All right.
yes.
Yeah, it should come from you, right? Just saying. Alrighty, good one. Okay, second one. Okay, you've mentioned this, you've had conversations about this, but of course, we just had a week of curling for our viewers at home. And there's always a little bit of that said drama. So here you go. Athlete led rock measures. Should the athlete be measuring said stones? Go or woe?
I'm going to give this one a go as well.
Okay.
Um, so we do this the vast majority of the time, including at Grand Slams, I'll
Right.
add. Um, and it's really only at provincial or national or world championships where all of a sudden you have an umpire doing your measures. So I've been curling for a long time. And I've never had a situation where between two athletes, you don't agree. Like
Right.
you measure, absolutely. But once the measurement's done, um,
It's done.
it's done. I
Yeah.
think we're very comfortable doing it. Sometimes the result has actually been worse, in my opinion, when the
Sure.
officials done it. They go by too quickly. They don't let everyone have a look. Sometimes the rocks have even been moved before both teams have confirmed the score, which is
Right.
completely against the goalposts of where we're supposed to be. And I just don't really know what problem we're trying to solve by having
Yeah.
officials do it. I think that, yeah, I've said enough on this one, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely a
And
go.
I can feel your blood pressure and heart rate through my screen over here at my home. So we're just gonna get this one off the screen. No, great insight to it. I think you're right. There's always going to be somebody that sits on either side of the fence and somebody who sits on it and can hum and haw, but you've got a great perspective on it. The athletes do this. Okay, I did some digging and I found some things, mainly just on Wikipedia. And I just want to know. You just read it off this. No, I got to say it because some of our readers are not going to be. Some of our viewers are not going to be watching. They're going to be listening. So I found this, and I just want to know if it's a go or a whoa. All right. Reviving the term Bottcher Express. Go or whoa?
Whoa.
Okay, fair. Just a whoa. Just a straight up whoa. So for all of our viewers at home, that's a whoa, and that was a very deep whoa. We're gonna pause that. You know what? Isn't Wikipedia public? Like we can get rid of that, right?
Oh,
No,
there's
no.
nothing offensive by the term by any stretch, but I feel like that brand was certainly associated with some of my past teams, and that was
Yeah.
awesome. And I'm just at the point of charting a new brand with a new team, and I'm looking forward to that.
And we like that too because we like what this team has to offer. So viewers at home, we really do thank Brendan for his time this evening. If you want to connect with Team Bottcher and follow along, of course, you're going to see them all week. You're going to see them on your screens. You're going to follow along, but there is their Instagram handle if you wanted to see a little bit more of the juice that they got to give. Brendan, I truly do thank you for the opportunity. I know that the Brier is coming up. This is just that little bit of extra time taken away, and I know our viewers across the province really do thank you for sitting down with them, especially in this crucial moment, these crucial moments as you head towards the Brier. Now, we're going to sign out. I'm going to keep you here. I'm going to thank all of our friends and families at home. I want to thank Brittany, Jill, Tyler, and Raymond for producing and getting this show up and going. I just get to sit here, wear a toque, be in the comfort of my home, and look as gorgeous as I possibly can. So I thank you so much. Friends and families, make sure that you're staying tuned. I know it was a really big week of curling last week. We've got another 10 days, 9 days of good, intense curling too as well. Brendan, we hope we see you in that final game on Sunday. We hope it's an all Alberta final, though I'm sure, it could be any type, any permutation of the best teams in our country, but it would be nice to see you on the podium one more time. So I thank you so much for your time tonight. Friends, make sure that you are staying safe out there. The weather is moving across the province, whether it be a cold snap or the snow. But most importantly, please continue to make curling your home. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.